IT section. Yes, thank you. Pranam to all the participants on our fourth day of IKS-TKDL workshop, Traditional Knowledge, Intellectual Property and People's Rights. Today we have Ma'am Viswajanani Madam and Arya, Dr. Anuradha Chaudhary. So Pranam Arya. So we are happy to be here, and Arya is here also. So we request all the participants, please don't unmute yourself during the session. Please help ma'am to complete the session. Then we'll discuss, and in between we'll complete the assessment, short assessment. Please, Arya, please start with mantra and say few words regarding IKS-TKDL workshop. You have extensive experience. You started this workshop actually, and I am your Shishya. As all of you, I am happy that I am Arya's PhD student, first PhD student. So I am made by Arya actually. So I request Arya, please start the workshop today. Come.
So namaste to everybody, and namaste to Viswajanani ji. Thank you very much for always making these workshops possible, giving the time and all and making it possible. And a very warm welcome to all the participants. I'm sure it's been a very enriching session so far with your interactions with the TKDL experts. And I'm sure it has helped you also broaden your understanding
Anuradha,
of
I'm
the
not able to hear you.
No? No, Sanil ji.
Yes, we
Can
can
you hear
hear
me?
you.
Namaskar,
Can you hear
Are
me?
you able to hear
Yes.
Can you
Anuradha?
hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
can.
madam.
Yes.
We will
All
hear
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Good
Ma,
afternoon,
can you
madam.
hear me?
Yes,
Viswajanani ji,
we
can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
Yeah,
Yes,
now
yes,
we,
ma'am.
yeah,
All right.
yes,
you.
yes,
So
yes.
just saying a big thank you to the entire TKDL team and to Piyush who does this session so meticulously. So thank you very much for the support and for making this possible. And to all the participants for making the time to take on this study, because this is something that's going to be a very important learning in the course of your development into IKS and the other knowledge that it entails. So with these few words, I'd just like to encourage all of you to keep up your study with IKS, because there is just so much of wealth that we have to unearth. And I'm sure with all of you getting into it in your respective domains, there is we can really do a lot of important contributions in the way in which each of these fields is evolving worldwide. And we can do it in a unique way. So all the very best. I'll just start with the mantra of the Sahana Vavatu. And those of you who know, please join along. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति Shanti. I would just like to add a few more words on this particular mantra itself, which we always do as something that brings us together. It's a very powerful mantra for psychological group work. So the first one says, Sahana Bhava, to protect us together. So we have to make sure that the psychological space is good, the physical space is good. All of that has to be safe for us to be able to grow together. Second, nourish us together. So the content that you're receiving, may that be nourishing deeply. The third one, Saha Viryam Karavabhai, and which is what all of you who have joined are doing. So let us do something with courage, not just repeat what has happened so far. Tejasvinavadhitamastu. So whatever we have studied, let it be brilliant. Let it bring light to the domain and to the society around us. Ma vidvishavahai, ma vidvishavahai. Let us not have any quarrel or any twosome. So while we can have differences that should be celebrated, we have to ultimately converge on the larger goal. And so this particular mantra is saying about how we can basically develop any subject in the best way possible. So with these few words, over to you, Viswajanani ji, waiting to listen to you again. Thank you, Piyush.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anuradha. Thank you so much, Piyush and Anand, for this workshop. We are on the fourth day, and let me start with an apology to all the participants. This time there has been a mix-up in the schedules. We are making sure that we at least deliver to what we have promised. So today, we'll be talking more about the ethics because, while we had planned to give a general IPR concept to you and then start with IPR related to traditional knowledge, there has been a small change this time. I spoke to you first about the traditional knowledge and the defensive and positive protection, and yesterday Anil, my colleague, gave you a general overview of all the intellectual property rights. But now that you have been, told what are the IPR aspects and then what needs to be done in the context of traditional knowledge, today the focus will largely be on oral traditional knowledge or the yet to be codified traditional knowledge and what needs to be done in the context of safeguarding such knowledge and protecting the livelihoods of the concerned people. So let me go forward in sharing the presentation. Please confirm as once you see the presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right. So we will be touching largely on the ethical aspects of working with traditional knowledge. And in the previous sessions, we did tell you that when we talk of traditional knowledge or the traditional cultural expressions or even the grassroots innovations, the major concepts that we look at as positive and defensive protection. As I had mentioned in my previous session, we talk about defensive protection in the context of protecting our own rights on our traditional knowledge so that other people do not take illegitimate rights or IP rights over somebody else's knowledge. Here, in the context of Indian traditional knowledge, the foremost is protecting our nation's ownership to our own traditions and culture, our own heritage. And the TKDL and similar such prior art information databases, journals serve to protect this traditional knowledge in a defensive format. Then comes what we call as the positive protection of traditional knowledge. Here, as I had mentioned last time also, there is a distinct category of traditional knowledge versus the oral traditional knowledge or yet to be codified traditional knowledge. Sometimes it is the manuscripts that are there in private collections, and the custodians of such knowledge are the concerned individual, the concerned family, or the concerned communities. Here, because this particular traditional knowledge also happens to be part of the livelihoods, the context here is not only protecting that knowledge from third parties so that IP rights are not taken away, but it is also to protect and promote that traditional knowledge for enhancement of their livelihoods. I also mentioned previously that when we look at positive protection of traditional knowledge, we need to typically have a sui generis legal system so as to give a direct protection to such traditional knowledge. Unfortunately, in the country, we do not have, and in fact, it's a very, very complex subject matter. Very few countries like Kenya, Ghana, Peru, they have enacted such laws, but again, in the context of promoting and protecting their biological resources. As I had mentioned last time, we do have indirect frameworks in the country, especially with the Biological Diversity Act. So the question here, largely when we talk of traditional knowledge, be it codified or even the non-codified traditional knowledge is, the ethics of protecting the rights. So is it even when we talk of codified traditional knowledge and we want to take IP rights, the question is are we doing it, ethically? So when we talk of, such knowledge already being prior art, at least we have a mechanism to say that this is already known information. Therefore, we are able to go by the defensive protection route. But when we talk of traditional knowledge, which is not yet codified, sometimes it is secret knowledge, sometimes it is sacred knowledge, and not all the entire knowledge is accessible to all. And as I mentioned previously as well, the custodians of such knowledge are the individuals, the families, the communities. So even with these manuscripts in private collections, so how do we take care of such knowledge? We need to keep in mind that the custodians of the knowledge is not the nation itself per se, but it percolates down to the individual custodians. So I did mention last time to you, when we talk of oral traditional knowledge, it is about paying due respect and also being sensitive towards the rights of the people concerned. So it could be the individuals, the families, the communities, and so on and so forth. And the three cardinal principles that one needs to observe is the free and prior informed consent. So we ensure that we take the consent of the knowledge holders before we go about recording it and using that knowledge for further purposes. The second and very important is attributing that knowledge to the concerned individual or the farm or the communities. So here what we are actually emphasizing is that again, in the context of people who do a lot of this ethno scientific work, it could be botanical work, ethno-medicinal work, last time we also had a person tell us, participant talk to us about ethno-entomology work and so on and so forth. We do such kind of surveys, we collect a lot of information, and we publish research articles and say that this is a research article that my group had done without paying enough, sorry, without acknowledging the rights of the people who had been involved in safeguarding that knowledge over generations. So here what we are trying to emphasize is that we need to attribute that knowledge to the knowledge holder. So if you are writing a research article, make sure that you include them as an author depending on the contributions of that particular individual or the community. If you are doing further innovation on that and you are filing a patent, include the knowledge holders as inventors. And if in case say you are forming a startup or you're trying to commercialize the product, have a partnership with the concerned family, individual, or the community of that particular knowledge. So all of this in turn would allow you to arrive at what we call as the access benefit sharing. Being the custodians of the knowledge, they have the rights to reap benefits out of their knowledge. So if we are trying to help them in that, we need to ensure that the benefits that we gain, we share it with the concerned knowledge holders. And often in this entire process, we need to ensure that the knowledge holders remain a close part of our activity, and we keep updating these knowledge holders of all the developments that happen. So again, coming back to the fact that when we talk of traditional knowledge, be it defensive protection or be it positive protection, the underlying principle is the ethics of it. So when we do any kind of a research, and if we do not give credit to a particular information or particular data, even in the context of modern science and technology, it is considered a misconduct in research and development. Similarly, if we are trying to take away the rights of the nation or the concerned knowledge holders, it also amounts to an unethical practice. However, in the context of the intellectual property rights, we have a stronger framework by this introduction of the Section 3P in the Indian Patents Act, wherein the entire traditional knowledge has been mentioned as non-patentable subject matter. If one goes over and beyond that and still would like to take, a patent on known subject matter, then it is an unethical practice, and that is where, TKDL and similar such groups come in place, so that we ensure that there is a disclosure requirement on the source of the information, be it the biological resource or the traditional knowledge concerned with it, and we can raise oppositions on grounds of Section 1J or go even for a post-grant opposition and seek revocation. So with these tools, of course, we are now looking at the defensive protection, but as we had mentioned last time, largely focusing on the Biological Diversity Act, we are also looking at India's contributions and India being a signatory to many of the international provisions. So when we talk of a provision that also enables positive protection of traditional knowledge associated with genetic resources, the first and foremost is the Convention on Biological Diversity. So this is an international provision, and it looks at conservation, sustainable use of biological diversity. So it stipulates that, there needs to be a fair and equitable sharing of benefits that arises based on the utilization of genetic resources and the appropriate access to the genetic resources. If you recall, I had given you an example of the kakadu plum from Australia and how Australia as a nation put together this national framework of having an alliance, and through the alliance, the entire kakadu plum is now sourced by third parties. So thereby what is being enabled is an equitable benefit sharing mechanism. So under the Convention on Biological Diversity, you have what is called the Nagoya Protocol. Again, the most important aspect of the Nagoya Protocol is, taking the prior informed consent, and as per the express consent of the knowledge holders, we involve the communities, the indigenous and local communities, for accessing biological resources and also the traditional knowledge associated with the genetic resources. So these are the international provisions, be it the CBD or the Nagoya Protocol. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Someone unmuted. I'm doing first done. Ma'am, we can't hear you, please.
Yeah. I have unmuted myself and I'm going back to the
Yes.
slide. Okay. So under the international obligations that India has towards the Convention on Biological Diversity, we have enacted what is called the Biological Diversity Act in the year 2002. And of course, it later got amended in the year 2023. But the large objective of this particular provision, the national provision, is, as I had mentioned last time, to stipulate the norms of access to the biological resource and the traditional knowledge associated with it. So two important aspects is taking the prior informed consent and having an access benefit sharing agreement with the knowledge holders. So under this, as I had mentioned last time also, if you're taking IPR rights, if you're taking a patent, before the grant, you need to have the permission and approval of the National Biodiversity Authority. If you're transferring your technology to somebody else, you need to ensure that you have the approval of the National Biodiversity Authority and so on and so forth. And most important aspect from traditional knowledge perspective is that the National Biodiversity Authority stipulates the BMCs, that is the Biodiversity Management Committees at the village or panchayat level, to make a record of all the genetic resources of that particular region, and therewith they also capture information on traditional knowledge that is associated with those genetic resources. This forms the basis of ensuring that even the oral traditional knowledge is captured, and the access and benefit sharing mechanism that has been stipulated under the Biological Diversity Act is also facilitated in the process. So typically, as I had mentioned, the Biological Diversity Act makes sure that we either register, take prior approval before we go ahead with the ABS signing mechanism. So you need to, this is associated with having access to biological resource or the associated traditional knowledge, transfer of results of research. So if you're transferring, you're out licensing a technology or even out licensing your patent, you need to have the approval of the National Biodiversity Authority. Similar is the case when you are even also applying for intellectual property rights and your invention involves a biological resource or traditional knowledge associated with it, you need to have the approval of the National Biodiversity Authority. So here, when we talk of access benefit sharing mechanism, be it under the Nagoya Protocol of the CPD or even our Biological Diversity Act, we say that it can involve both monetary and non-monetary benefits, and the formula can be decided on case-to-case basis. It need not be one solution fits all kind of. So when we had been talking of all of this, I did mention to you last time that when we are talking of either defensive or positive protection of traditional knowledge, even the World Intellectual Property Organization has been looking to bring out an international framework that protects the intellectual property rights, the genetic resources, and the associated traditional knowledge. Here, as I had mentioned previously, it works along the line of what we have been doing with the TKDL in the country. It is the objective of this particular treaty is to improve upon the patent grant system so that, traditional knowledge related or genetic resources related inventions which are not novel will not be granted a patent. So along these lines, what the treaty also ensures is that there is a disclosure of the source of information related to the genetic resource, the GRATK, and ensures that the people involved are also a part of this entire exercise. And therein, this particular treaty also recommends development of information systems like the database that we have with the TKDL. And here, especially when you are considering the oral traditional knowledge, they say please consult the concerned knowledge holders. It could be the indigenous people or local communities, and ensure all the stakeholders are involved when you are taking a decision on developing such information system. And this system can be made accessible for the purposes of the patent grant processes, like how we do with the TKDL. And this again, when you are including oral traditional knowledge, you need to make sure that the people involved are also brought to speed to understand that their knowledge is being protected by such mechanisms. So here in this context of protecting traditional knowledge, both as a defensive mechanism and as well as a positive mechanism, you have the national IPR policy making very specific recommendations on the traditional knowledge digital library. So as I had mentioned, the policy also talks about enhancing the scope of the traditional knowledge digital library beyond the Indian systems of medicine. We have started with agriculture, we have started with metallurgy, but most importantly, in the context of today's session, we are talking of oral traditional knowledge. So the national IPR policy tells us document oral traditional knowledge, taking care that the integrity of the such knowledge is preserved and the traditional ways of the communities of the people, that is the livelihoods of the people, are not compromised. So in this context, what we had done with the CSIR-TKDL is we had looked at all the different entities that are documenting traditional knowledge, oral traditional knowledge, and we saw what needs to be done as a national government body that is focused only on traditional knowledge. So we realized that when we are looking at handling oral traditional knowledge, there are several concerns. One is, as I had mentioned, there is no formal legal framework to protect oral traditional knowledge, even if it is related to biological resources, because it is scanned. But when it is not related to non-biological resources, you do not have a framework at all. So we wanted to look at making sure that there are uniform standard operating procedures for recording such traditional knowledge. And we also observed that there are many research organizations as well as NGOs that take prior informed consent, but there is no standard process or format that is used. Sometimes it is as simple as saying, do you agree or do you not agree? And that is all about it. So many of the knowledge holders we need to understand are not as educated or literate as we are. So they may not even understand the consequences of saying yes or consequences of saying no. So we need to look at a standard PIC format that enables a greater understanding between the parties, the one who's transferring that information and the one who's capturing such information. So we realized that the documentation, as I had mentioned, is being done by several people in the country. It could be universities like, doing this ethnobotanical work, ethnomedicinal work, and so on and so forth, and publishing research articles to government, national laboratories like even the CSIR recording such information. You also have commercial entities and NGOs doing such work, and of course, individuals as well. But then, when we discussed with them, other than for a few parties, it was like, they were not largely focused about the livelihoods of the people, but then the concern was there that, that such knowledge is depleting and we need to record such knowledge. So here the emphasis that we would like to bring in is how do we empower the knowledge holders and make sure that their rights to that particular knowledge and their livelihoods are respected. So again, coming back, low awareness of the PIC and as well as the access benefit norm, publishing articles with a due acknowledgement and sharing such information in the public domain domain, whether it has a potential for IPR protection or not. So there is largely a greater ignorance of the subject matter rather than an intended misuse of such information. So it was like, we felt that, we need to bring this kind of awareness that when we talk of oral traditional knowledge, there should be enough focus even on the ethics of handling that. So we also go ahead and, highlight what would be the concerns. So last time I did mention to you that anything that is there in the public domain will be treated as prior art information, and therefore patents would not be granted. But you look at any ethnobotanical work, it will tell you that this particular plant is known by this name by this particular community. This part of the plant, sometimes they do mention that, is used for this particular disease. Sometimes they say it is prepared by this method, a very brief one-liner kind of. But we need to understand that when we talk of an intellectual property right such as patent, it is a very, very, elaborate mechanism of assessing whether there is novelty, inventive step, and then the application of it. So the inventive step is that area where we have to show it is obvious or not obvious. So anybody, when we are treating such information that is published as an ethnobotanical work with very meager information, we are now exposing that knowledge, the oral traditional knowledge, into a very challenging subject matter from a prior art perspective. And thereby, what we do is that the applicant who is now filing a patent on such subject matter can always exercise their right, saying that whatever is known in the public domain is so meager that they had to do so much more, and they will be easily able to show the inventive step and get a patent grant to it. So thereby, what is the end result is that the knowledge holders will be deprived of their own rights to their own knowledge, thus causing a potential loss of their livelihoods, which again amounts to misappropriation and piracy when biological resources are used. So here what we felt is that now we need to bring in a mechanism which will formalize such working and handling of traditional knowledge. The first and foremost is access and documentation. So few of the things I'll read out is, first respecting the privacy, the freedom, the moral rights, and the rights of those people to their own livelihoods. The second one is, for taking a prior informed consent, we need to have a participatory and consultative process where we clearly mention what is our intent, what are their objectives, what are their expectations, and go with the explicit consent of the knowledge holders. I did mention to you that there could be 3 different modalities last time, of sharing information. The knowledge holders might tell you, okay, make everything available, and but even their details, so that whoever is accessing their knowledge will be able to share benefits with them. Sometimes the knowledge holders may say, okay, you can record our information, but just give only an abstract, and whoever is interested in, based on that little information you give, let them connect with us directly. The third one could be a possibility where the knowledge holders will tell you, we are sharing this information with you only for in the context of preserving this information. You can document it, but you will not be able to share such information in public domain. So we go with the express consent of the concerned knowledge holders. So by doing this kind of a deliberation and a dialogue with the knowledge holders, we are able to build in trust, that their livelihoods will not be lost, because we are now going to follow a very sensible and an ethical process to documenting and making that information accessible to third parties. So we take the collective views, we analyze for variations and duplication, because when we talk of a country like India, while we have very diverse practices, there could be unique practices which should be common across different communities. So this kind of documentation, especially on a digital platform, would help us take all the consolidated views and look for similarities and distinctness within the knowledge that is called the oral traditional knowledge. So we will be able to provide, by such a database, we'll be able to provide a comprehensive information, not just a research article that talks about community, not mentioning the details of the knowledge holders. We talk about the geographical profile, the location, the profile of the population, a lot of the ecological and also the economic impact on their livelihood. So here, if in case there is any apprehension or concern that is being expressed by the knowledge holders, this kind of a dialogue would help us record even that information. In case, there are concerns that, certain of the communities do not have scripts, they do not know how to communicate properly, especially in the context of documentation, we can also go by the audio video mode and make sure we also share a copy of that in the with the knowledge holders, and preferably if in case we could have this dialogue in their own language, it would be well accepted by the knowledge holders. So now that we have recorded and documented that knowledge, the next part is how do we use it for research and development, because the intent here is to help enable the livelihoods of the people. So once we do that, after we get the express consent, we plan our activities, we look at the unaddressed problems of the community, and if in case there are any conflicting ideas with the traditions and beliefs, we are sensitive to such information, and we do not go about discussing contradictory results in a derogatory tone, but we make a sensible effort to tell them that while this is they believe, the scientific experimentation or validation has led to a different kind of a result. So we need to act with great sensibility and as well as sensitivity to the knowledge, because some of the traditions and beliefs are considered to be sacred by those people. It could be the individuals or the communities. We respect their rights, and we look for cooperation in partnership with the knowledge holders. And if in case we are publishing a research article, we ensure that, as I mentioned, depending on their contributions, we could include them as authors. In fact, if you look at the Honeybee Network, the Gyan, the Srishti from Ahmedabad, they have ensured that, the knowledge holders are also co-authors or even inventors on patent applications that have been filed based on traditional knowledge innovations. And if in case there are, access to biological resources, we have a proper material transfer agreements. In fact, if you look at the Nagoya Protocol, there are model agreements that have been mentioned. We can adopt similar such agreements, including the National Biodiversity Act also prescribes such agreements. We follow all the extant laws and procedures on the matter. So for example, if you're filing a patent application for use of biological resource, we need to ensure that we follow all the protocols of making necessary payments and taking necessary approvals of the National Biodiversity Authority. And if in case, as I mentioned, everything is about enabling the livelihoods of the people. If we are gaining commercial benefits, we ensure that these benefits are also shared with the community. So here it could be monetary or non-monetary. For example, of course, monetary is straightforward. If you talk of non-monetary, you could build education centers, schools, or you could, build a library, depending on, the contribution, the money that has been made. And that should only kind of help enable the knowledge holders to have faith in the system, to say that, they are also benefited by their own knowledge. So having done, the documentation and the research and development, the next most important is dissemination of information. So here again, we go by the express consent of the knowledge holders. But here from a journal perspective, we need to ensure that the journals are also sensitive enough to recognize that if there is any traditional knowledge that is mentioned, the authors are, supposed to declare that they have taken the prior informed consent of the knowledge holders before submission of the manuscript. In fact, we are making it, a compulsory, a mandatory aspect for the Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge, that is from the CSIR family. And then again, refrain from publishing secret or confidential information, and also information that contradicts the sacred beliefs of the knowledge holders. Include knowledge holders as co-authors, that is what I have mentioned, and have a consultative process, have a dialogue, keep on having, keep updating the knowledge holders of the developments that are happening in the front, and most importantly, respect the moral rights of the knowledge holders to their own knowledge. We are only gathering such knowledge from them. We are actually, loaning such knowledge from the knowledge holders, again in the context of protecting their rights. And now when it comes to awareness and education, we could include the knowledge holders in teaching modules and capacity building workshops, or if you're having a seminar, have them also kind of, give their feedback and on what is it that they're expecting from such an activity. So here we are also looking at saying that we need to have institutional mechanisms, like when you do animal studies or you do clinical trials, you have the ethics committee at the institution level, at the hospital level. So we are saying that when we are dealing with traditional knowledge, especially oral traditional knowledge, we need to include ethical aspects in the curriculum as well. And if in case possible, of course, today many of the Padma awardees are being recognized for such kind of knowledge and taking forward the traditions. We could enhance appreciation and awards for these knowledge holders as well. As I had mentioned, I think the recent times we had seen greater number of such people who have been maintaining and carrying forward our heritage, and we would like to see many more such people being recognized for such. So now the most important aspect of all of this that I come back is the prior informed consent. So here there should be a written consent and authorization to record, disclose such information. It could be the concerned individual or it could be the family members or community members, but we need to record who is giving that information, who holds that information. So there should be clarity on the contributions of the different players in this particular activity. And we need to ensure that we have the declaration by the knowledge holder, declaration by the recording organization or the individuals. And here we also need to make sure, while we are talking of the prior informed consent, we also give them an idea of what the ABS mechanism is all about, that is the access and benefit sharing mechanisms. Then we also provide a detailed explanatory note. In fact, this we had picked up from the National Innovation Foundation, again from Gujarat, which is a DST organization. So there is a detailed explanatory note that the knowledge holders need to understand, and even the person who is recording that information needs to understand, so that there is greater clarity and understanding between both the parties. So while we believe that the prior informed consent will be given by the knowledge holders, one needs to keep in mind that the knowledge holder might change his or her mind or their mind and can retract this consent later on. We need to respect that as well. So this record will be made available. Whatever you're recording, a copy of it needs to be given to the knowledge holders, and you retain the rest of it. And here again, you mentioned, when we are saying that we are either going to disclose this information to, say, even through the TKDL to third parties, we need to explain to them what would be the pros and cons of full disclosure, partial disclosure, or no disclosure as well. And as I mentioned, we cannot make tall claims that every of the knowledge that would be recorded will have commercial gains. Sometimes there would be no commercially viable products from such knowledge. The knowledge holders need to be made aware of that, so that they do not have false aspirations that their knowledge is going to create something which is very novel and which would be really commercially viable. And then, of course, the last but not the least is about acknowledgement for further validation and value addition, including research articles. While we talk of all this, that we do agree that PIC is very important, but then the challenges of implementing PIC also needs to be understood, because as I mentioned, when we go to villages or we go to rural areas or even to the tribal communities, often the person who is very verbal or who is very willing to talk to us may not be the person who is the owner of that knowledge. So we need to ensure in such cases we identify the community leader, and if should there be a dispute between the community members and the knowledge holders, we resolve it through the community leaders or the panchayat or the BMCs or whoever is the concerned head of that particular community or the knowledge holders. Then we also need to ensure that if in case the same knowledge is common to multiple communities, the benefits need to reach all of them. Say, for example, I'm recording some oral traditional knowledge from different regions of the country into the TKDL. I see a similarity in the patterns. While a third party might access biological resource, say, from one particular community, but the traditional knowledge related to that biological resource is common to, say, 4 or 5 different communities. So here I bring it to the attention of the NBA that while the access benefit sharing with regards to the biological resource may be restricted to this particular community from that one region, the TK associated with the biological resource belongs to all these communities. So we ensure that the benefits reach all the concerned knowledge holders. And here, by doing this repeatedly, it's not going to be a single exercise that you go have a discussion and then you think that everything has fallen in place. This trust needs to happen. I mean, this discussion needs to keep happening regularly. And by that, you will be gaining a signature, to having greater trust, and it would reduce the mistrust between the two parties. And of course, the benefit claimers crop up once commercialization becomes imminent. So we need to ensure that, in addition to the parties who have come forward to share that information, there might be other people also. We need to keep all these challenges in mind when we are recording such information. And most importantly, I did mention to you, today the knowledge holder might be saying yes to you after having all this detailed dialogue, and after a couple of months he or she may come back to say, no, I want to withdraw it. You need to respect the rights of the people and withdraw the PIC and go with the express consent, re-expressed consent of the knowledge holders. So through all of this, what we are again re-emphasizing is that we need to act with empathy. We need to focus on equality and partnership when we are talking of documentation and utilization of traditional knowledge. So as I had mentioned, the National Innovation Foundation, the Honeybee Network, and few other people are working towards only this. So few examples even from the National Biodiversity Authority is what I'd like to give in the next couple of slides. So there is an Indian researcher who accessed ethnomedicinal knowledge of the Siddhi community from Gujarat. So this the focus was to do research in a UK-based university. So they declared that the Indian authorities use the results of the research from this community for the benefit of the tribal people. So they took these, they consulted the State Biodiversity Board of Gujarat, and once they got the approval, they went with the condition that the findings of the research shall also be given to the National Biodiversity and as well as the State Biodiversity Authority. So this is how the whole process works with the National Biodiversity Authority. Here is an example by a cosmetic company, a leading cosmetic company, L'Oreal from France, and they had sourced Glycyrrhiza glabra, which is used for in a lot of skincare products. So this has been sourced from Punjab and the Himalayas for research purposes. So the company paid an upfront fee for accessing the biological resource. So in turn, the National Biodiversity Authority has a mechanism for ABS, and the benefits of whatever they had got through L'Oreal were sent back to the state biodiversity boards and to the communities that were that had sourced that biological resource to the company. Another example is again about from the Hindustan Unilever. There were a lot of medicinal plants that they had sourced from traders in Bangalore for their FMCG products, and here the National Biodiversity Authority recommended they pay 5 lakhs as upfront fee, and this is what the company had done. So here, while there are mechanisms in place even under the National Biodiversity Authority, the complexities are again, very challenging here, even in the context of benefit sharing. So while we talk of biological resource, it is very easy to identify the source of information, largely easy compared to the knowledge itself. And, sometimes what happens is that the knowledge and the practice do not go in together. So here, and the knowledge might be gained from a third party. So how do we ensure that, the benefit sharing happens? And sometimes the knowledge is distinct, but limited users with limited monetary value. Sometimes it is distinct, the knowledge is distinct, but it is associated with a genetic resource which is depleting, or it is a rare and endangered species. So how do we handle such cases? And we also need to ensure that, the knowledge providers are and the knowledge holders are distinct and different. So how do we make sure that the benefits also reach not just the providers, but the holders themselves? So these many complexities are there, but I think once we start working with it, we would be able to identify, and I know if one solution does not fit all, we need to ensure that the activity keeps continuing, and we know that the ownership of resource and knowledge are distinct and are not integrable. And once we realize that this is a fact, we would be able to deal the biological resource distinctly and with the knowledge distinctly. and some good practices from other countries are also there. I did mention to you about Australia and the Kakadu Club. So in addition to that, we need to have good governance and institutional structures at the organizations at the state levels as well as the national levels. We need to ensure that, we align it with, national and international frameworks of ecosystems and natural habitats. As I had mentioned, there are a lot of these rare and endangered species. We need to ensure that these are not overexploited. We could have other mechanisms of cultivating such plant species and ensuring that the natural resources are not depleted. Now comes the benefit sharing. We need to ensure that at all levels and all actors are benefited in the value chain, and we need to ensure, as I had mentioned, that knowledge providers and knowledge holders could be distinct, and we need to respect and ensure that the benefits reach all concerned to the level that they have contributed to that particular knowledge. And for journals, we are trying to ensure that, the PIC also needs to be a mandatory process before editors take up the manuscripts for review by the reviewers. So some examples that I have listed from here is from Switzerland and as well as France. So there is, right in the very beginning, be it the biological resource or be it the knowledge associated with it, there is an understanding between the company and the knowledge holders. And if you are able to abide by the agreement that you have signed, I think that would be the best case scenario. And these are the cases that have talked about it. In addition to that, we have some global best practices like the Swiss Academy of Sciences that talks about access and benefit sharing for non-commercial research. Then you have the Consortium of European Taxonomic Facilities, CTAF, that talks about the code of conduct and best practices for benefit sharing. It talks about institutional mechanism. It also talks about an elaborate PIC and mutually agreed terms. You also have this Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and the Indigenous Knowledge Institute, who have brought in code of ethics and charters, especially when one wants to pursue R&D with indigenous, that is oral traditional knowledge. And here the emphasis is on the rights of the concerned people. You also have the UEBT standard, which is about the ethical sourcing of botanicals. So in addition to all that, if in case we are able to institutionalize a TK ethics committee in our organizations, I think this committee would be responsible to bring in all the best practices that are there. And of course, the overall objective of all of these efforts is to ensure that we have an ethical documenting of the traditional knowledge with prior informed consent, attribution of that knowledge, sustaining the livelihoods of the knowledge holders, fair and equitable benefit sharing. With all of this, we believe that sustainable use of natural resources and conservation of habitats can happen, and this model sharing will help in the positive protection of traditional knowledge. So to that effect, the CSIR-TKDL unit has brought in a guidance document for handling and working with traditional knowledge, addressing all those aspects that we have just explained to you. And we believe that if we are able to bring in such an institutional mechanism, I think we will be on the right path to protecting traditional knowledge and also protecting the livelihoods of the concerned people. So let me stop here and then allow you to breathe in.
Yes, बहु धन्यवाद and
Thank
pranam to all the participants for helping ma'am. So it's a good experience today. So I'm sharing the link in the chat box and in the Google Drive. I'm uploading. In between, I'm trying to send a mail also. If it goes immediately, that would be great. 1 second. Please don't write anything in the chat box right now. I am sharing assessment link multiple times, so you can use it. So
Anil, I
now
think you can
it's,
also share the link for today's assessment in the chat box so that more number of people are able to access it.
yes.
I would request all the participants not to put any thank you or any other comments or say that you have submitted your response, because people who would like to access the assessment link would be able to do so if you do not put your comments at this point of time.
You, sir, I have done. So I will left the call or will wait for something.
Sorry.
I have done the assessment, so I will wait or will left the meetings.
No, if you don't have any questions or query, you may leave. No problem. Astu,
Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice session. Have a good day.
thank you. See you tomorrow.
Namo Namah, Piyush Mahoday. Your screen is sharing. I don't know if you intended for it, but
So can you see the assessment link here and QR code?
yes, the QR code can be seen.
Please don't write anything. Please, we request all of you, please don't write anything in the chat box right now. Next 10 minutes. Astu.
Mahoday.
Thank you, Dr. Piyush, for organizing such sessions. This side Hitesh Kadyan from StarX University, Gurugram, sir.
Uttamam. So tomorrow we have Murthy sir session that is on Indian knowledge system.
Yes.
Astu.
And thank you for the interactive session again. So
Yes.
should we leave, sir? We have done the assessment also.
Sorry.
I have completed the assessment.
Hmm.
So could I leave?
Yes. If you
Thank you.
don't have any question, please email
Thank
me.
you so much.
No problem.
Hello, Piyush sir.
Yes.
Sir, thank you so much for arranging such a nice session, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Astu. Chalo.
Excuse me, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
In my chat box, it shows you're no longer a participant. So I'm not able to see the link.
Can you see my PPT here?
Yes, sir.
So it's tinyurl.com. Please type or write anywhere https:// then tinyurl.com / then code is MTHZTMX2. I repeat, MTHZTMX2.
Okay, so I need to go to Google for
You
this.
just copy it and through any browser, Google Chrome, it's okay. Astu?
Okay, sir.
You, sir, please add me to the WhatsApp group of this workshop.
No, we don't have any WhatsApp group, sir. Astu?
Okay, sir.
HTTP. On dot GLE.
Sorry to disturb you, Piyush, sir. You just
Yes, please.
yeah, just one small request, sir. That day, due to that confusion of mailers, we missed the second session and assessment.
Okay,
Hope it
that
will
will
not affect
consider.
our scorings.
No, that will consider. Will consider. No problem for the
Okay,
second day.
because we had missed it. We completely didn't knew till the next day that it happened. So we
Yes,
missed it.
no problem.
So if we could just attempt the assessment of that day, it would help us, sir.
Okay, we'll consider
Okay,
that.
please do
Astu, no
consider this
problem.
request, sir. Yeah, because many
Yes.
of us have missed that second day. So recordings, of course, I
Yes,
have gone through it now, but no
yesterday we
assessment done.
noted that. Yesterday we
Yeah,
noted that. We will do that. No problem. Astu,
thank you, sir.
please do rest of the assessment and the final
Yeah, rest of
assessment
all
also.
are done. Yes, thank you,
And
sir.
final assessment is very, very important. But because most weightage will come from that only. Astu.
Okay, noted, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Sir, may I leave today?
If you don't have any question, you may leave. No problem.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Wanted to know if the assessment we are giving, if their scores, how many wrong questions or we have answered. Anything we can.
Now, if you want to know your score, you can mail personally. We'll do that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
We'll let you know.
Yes, sir.
Could anyone please confirm if you have received the mail? Could anyone of
Yes,
you?
we've received the mail.
Yes.
We've
Yes.
received
Yes,
the
we
mail
received.
and we can see the QR code both.
Astu, thank you.
Sir, I have a question to
Dhanyavad,
add.
Mahaprabhu.
Sir, for questions, please give me a few minutes to complete the assessment. Then we will start Q&A session.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Namaste. Namaste, ma'am.
Sir, can I have yesterday's question, sir? I could not answer yesterday.
No, that's closed. Please leave it and please do the rest of the assessment. Astu?
Today's I have done. Yesterday's I could not do.
Yes.
2 days
And
also I did.
complete the final also. Final is very, very important. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Final
So
means
for
tomorrow's sir or 30th
Tomorrow we have the last
tomorrow.
main session tomorrow. Murthy sir's session.
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
Then you
okay,
will
thank
have 2 days for preparing the final assessment. Astu? Saturday and Sunday. You will have.
Sir, can I quit today? I have submitted.
Yes, yes. Huh? If you don't have any query, please email it. No problem.
No, thank you.
Namaste, sir. Sir, I have a question regarding final assessment. Can I ask now?
You have questions, ma'am?
Regard regarding final assessment.
Please tell me.
Sir, will the questions be based on the classes and PPT only?
Yes, these 5 days from Monday to Friday. Based on these 5 days, you will have the questions in the final assessment. Okay.
Sir, thank
sir,
you so
how
much.
many MCQs we will be
There
facing?
will be 40 MCQs. 40. You
For
will
how much
have
time?
50 minutes max. Astu?
40 questions in 50 minutes.
Sir, timing.
Okay.
Timing, sir.
Yes.
Sir, timing for the
Yeah,
40
good evening,
questions.
sir.
Or timing. So we'll start at the same time, 3:30, after a concluding session by ma'am, Dr. Sattigeri ma'am. Then we'll proceed to our assessment for 50 minutes. Okay. 10 minutes for concluding session. Then we'll go assessment for 50 minutes.
Okay, sir. So, sir, can I ask the question now?
Okay. Let me close this 1 second. Give me. Give me another 2 minutes. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
We hope
I hope
all of you have submitted. We hope. Please submit. If you have not submitted yet, please submit. Then we'll start.
Hello, sir.
Yes, we request all the participants, please raise your hand if you have any questions. Ma'am is here. She will answer your questions. Okay.
So isn't it 40 questions in 50 minutes won't be feasible, I guess. It will take time to process and internet connections also. Many people not able to open the form itself. How we will
yes.
facilitate
MCQs,
that
all
part?
are MCQs. You will be able to do that. You
We've
will
been
not
doing
need
it. Yeah,
that
this is
much
our
time.
10th workshop. Yeah, we've been doing it. So go with a positive mind. I'm sure you will also be able to do well.
Yes.
Yeah, Piyush, I just wanted to tell you, we'll take the questions for just 10 minutes today, and the rest of it, we can take it on 30th.
Yes. And we
Good
request all the
afternoon, ma'am.
participants, if you have any questions, please write your questions as much as possible. No problem. We'll share a feedback form. There is an option. Whatever questions you have, you can put. We will collect all your questions. Then we'll come with your questions on that particular interactive session on 30th April. That's for interactive session. Astu? Ma'am, please.
One question I want to ask regarding IKS. Ma'am, when we talk about pedagogy, we want to take information regarding what was the traditional pedagogy if we are like working upon it. So can you suggest me what can be the sources for that?
Haji, we have all raised our hand and I think we should go sequentially.
Yes, ma'am. So we call Ankita
Riddham
ji,
Karnawat.
please come. Or Nikita.
No, not Rikita. I have in front of me Dr. Riddham Karnawat.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
please,
Am I
ma'am.
audible?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My question is
Yeah.
about patent searching.
Yeah.
So the question is that, so what are the process of conducting patent search to determine the novelty? Is it mandatory or advisable to submit a patent search report to the patent office? Yes, ma'am.
So generally, how it is done is that if in case you have access to databases like Derwent or something, you can do a novelty search and ensure that, before you go about filing the fees for the patent application and all that, you will have clarity of whether your invention is novel or not. Actually, before you actually get into the R&D, that is when you do a literature search to see whether there is, when we say literature, it is both patent and non-patent literature to see whether you are not infringing and you have the freedom to operate. So once you have done your research, then once again you do all these searches just to make sure that before you go for filing a patent application, you have this information. Whether you add your search report or not, the patent office will again do their own search if you are filing for the patent examination fees, patent examination fees. So they will come up with their own set of prior art information to assess the patentability criteria that we had mentioned, that is novelty, patent, inventorship and application, in addition to all the other legal requirements of the patent application. So that is how the whole process happens.
And ma'am, is it any career related possibility to be a person who is interested in
You have
searching a
IP.
patent?
Yes, the patent informatics is, patent informatics itself is a now a discipline, that people are pursuing. In fact, you have many law firms engaging scholars for doing all these kind of searches. So it is indeed a stream of employment as well.
So, ma'am, I am not from law background. I am from library science background. So that's why I am only interested in searching of patent, database searching only.
No, then it depends on, some of the firms may not need legal people, they may also need other people. But I do not, to be very frank, from a library science perspective, I may not be able to give you a concrete answer. But they would expect some kind of an IP awareness so that, you would be found suitable for that. But in terms of, the academic organizations, I have seen people with library sciences also being given this kind of a responsibility after due training. So if in case your institution offers you due training into doing a patentability search, I'm sure you would be of help to your organization.
Yes, ma'am. Is it any recommended books or study material?
Not books, you will have to, some of the search engines like, Derwent or anything, they offer formal training. In addition, we have one of our CSIR institutes called URDEP in Pune, which offers a patent informatics course. So you could, have that PG course undertaken. So there are different organizations you will have to look up that meets your background and see if in case that can offer you additional support in terms of what you want to do in terms of patent searches.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Purabi?
Ma'am, it's the same. I'm logged in from the laptop, and this is me from the mobile, which is where I'm audio. My audio is available. So, ma'am, my question was related to the flow of knowledge that you were talking about, and I see the point of the knowledge holder may not always we may not be able to reach them, and elder from the community or someone who is come out and is educated is sharing the knowledge. So knowledge holder, knowledge sharer being different, but it's a dilemma, ma'am. So what kind of a steps are we ensuring to make sure that the knowledge holder is not being deprived?
You had to pursue further the dialogue, that is why, as I said, it is not a one-time sitting that, you have some person in front of you and you start recording the knowledge. It is going to take a little bit of time to have a, complete conversation. And in fact, if you look at the National Innovation Foundation and the PIC document with the explanatory note, it is indeed an, yeah, it's a wonderful document that allows you to have this kind of a dialogue between the knowledge holders and the, when I say knowledge holders, I'm loosely using it, could be the person who's providing you that knowledge. So you, depending on how the conversation goes, you'd be easily be able to understand whether he is only providing you the knowledge or he is the actual custodian, the knowledge holder himself or herself. So this is going to take time, but once you start the process, you'd be able to get into the nitty-gritties of it.
Right, ma'am, that would be an ethical researcher. But is there someone who is who from the protection team, like from TKDL, is ensuring that that is happening? Because
Right now, we
an
don't
ethical
have.
research. Okay.
No. Right now, in the TKDL, we do not have any oral traditional knowledge included. But before we get to including the traditional knowledge, we are laying the groundwork to start with an ethical framework. So whatever I had presented to you would be the framework on which the traditional knowledge digital library would start to include oral traditional knowledge in it.
So SOP work is there. So somebody who's interested could work on the ethical SOP. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was my question.
Thank you. Dr. Snehal Chavda.
Namaste, ma'am. I'm from Gujarat. Actually, I'm working on wild edible plants and only documentation of the traditional practices of tribal community with these edible plants. So I have taken permission from Gujarat Biodiversity Board as well as the consent from form is already signed. So, ma'am, my question is: any ethical clearance from committee is required or not? Because many international journal required when we submit a research paper. So ethical clearance is required or not if
So
we
yeah,
are
as
not
I
done
had
any
mentioned, it is
experimental
not
work.
mandate. Yeah, it is not mandatory for all the journals, but what we are recommending is to ensure that we are following ethical practices in case, the journal starts to include a mandatory declaration that you have taken the prior informed consent, it would be good for them. And in terms of the community approval, it all depends on what kind of prior informed consent you have taken. Have you taken the consent of the knowledge holders to disseminate their information in public domain? If you have not done it while recording this information and you have just taken consent for documenting the information, you will have to go back to the community to say what is it that you are going to do with the information that you have documented. If you're going to put it in public domain, that is, publish a research article, you will have to make it clear to those knowledge holders from whom you have collected the information.
Okay, ma'am. I have taken consent from आपने जैसे ही बोला वैसे ही मैंने कंसेंट फ्रॉम सिग्नेचर करवाए हैं मैंने अपना पूरा रिसर्च उनको बताया है कि आई एम डूइंग दिस वर्क एंड पब्लिश दिस वर्क सो बट माय क्वेश्चन इज जस्ट एथिकल क्लियरेंस इज रिक्वायर्ड और नॉट
Ethical clearance for what? I mean, like, for what are you intending ethical clearance? Because if you have already taken prior informed consent, you have made it known to this one, what exactly are you looking for?
Okay, जैसे कि मैम, we are not done any experimental work on it, right? So
it is only
in case of
documentation.
documentation, yeah, I'm
So
asking that under
yeah, I understand. So
documentation.
this is more like an ethnobotanical work,
Yes.
that kind of a work, and you want to publish the article. So I think as
Yes.
long as you have the right things you have done, you can go ahead and publish. In case the journal asks for a declaration, you can provide that. Or otherwise, in the methodology, you clarify that you have taken the prior informed consent of the knowledge holders. And if you are able to include those knowledge holders as authors, or at least acknowledge who are from where you have got the information, I think it is kind of a acknowledgement acknowledgement and attribution of this knowledge to the concerned people from whom you have recorded the information.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nicely
Dr. Parthasarathi.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for presenting such a nice lecture in front of all of us, and we all have learned a lot of things. But ma'am, just I like to know from you that that language is not a static thing. In every moment, even if we are just going very minutely, then you can see language is changing itself. So whenever we are just going to see the IKS and the related considerations from the language perspective, then it may be possible that we are not getting the real meaning or the traditional understanding out of the language itself. So what can be the considerations or thoughtful research ideas to do this kind of researches, if you have any outlook on that?
So let me explain the challenges that we face in the TKDL. Maybe that will help you a little bit. So when we talk of documenting traditional knowledge, even from codified text, I had given an example of Sanskrit shloka and how we transcribe that information. So sometimes in even the systems of medicine, they don't mention what exactly is the plant. They will only describe the plant and things like that. So in this case, one has to decipher what kind of plant is mentioned in our traditional knowledge. So for that purpose, what we do is that, as I mentioned, we go to the experts in the field. Say this is an Ayurveda formulation. So when the Ayurveda doctor transcribes that information, he or she would know what that particular plant is, even if it is described based on their education. Okay. In case he or she is unable to do that, there is a gap in the information. So at the time of editing, when we are referring this particular information to a senior person, the gap may get filled. Otherwise, we take it to a national expert and then seek their information. In this particular context, there are two scenarios. One, the national expert may give you a very direct response, which is conforming with the rest of the other information that you have already documented. Sometimes we have to call a group of experts to decipher that information. So we go with the collective intelligence. When I say group of experts, it's not just the Ayurveda doctors. We also call the taxonomists from that particular region who would be able to make sure that we align to what could be the right botanical species that is mentioned in that formulation. So coming back to your question and your concern of languages, it is similar, So if in case you have documented the information and you have a little concern, go back to the knowledge holders and say what exactly you have documented. They may be able to correct you for whatever you have, documented. In case there are errors, they will tell you that this is not right. Okay. Another very important thing is that don't look up only the internet and then say that, a community is plant ko, I mean, they use this particular term for this particular plant and you're just going about copying something from the internet. Do not do that. Please consult experts in the field. Okay. Do not go for open data that is there in the internet. Go back to the experts, go back to the knowledge holders and make sure that their documentation happens properly.
Thank you, ma'am. That means ethnography is the ultimate research method which we have to depend if we are dealing with the IKS.
Yes, and you'll have to involve both the experts, the modern science experts, and as well as the knowledge holders in this process.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we will take one last question, Piyush, and then
yes.
Dr. Isha Sial.
Hello, namaste, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I just wanted to know, for example, we are working something on pedagogy of traditional knowledge. So what can be the sources for that pedagogy, ma'am?
So as we had addressed this question in the last couple of days also. So it depends on, what is the subject matter. As we had mentioned previously also, if you're talking of UG level, undergrad level courses, it will have to be stream based, discipline based. You cannot talk about medicine to a person in humanities and counterwise, because the students will not take interest in such subject matters. So it has to be be as per the subject and the disciplines that are mentioned. And Dr. Piyush has also mentioned that there's a lot of information on the IKS website and including the Gyan Bharat Sarita, right? Gyan
Yes.
Bharat,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
Bharatiya Jnana Sarita.
Gyan
Bharatiya Jnana Sarita.
Yeah, so you please look up that and then you will have some recommendations on that. In addition to that, UGC has been kind of having this faculty development programs and then training people into developing curriculums. You could look up UGC or consult with the local offices that you may have connect with and see how you would be able to develop this together. It is challenging at this point of time because we do not have a precedence, but I think together with the IKS division, with UGC and other experts who are available, we would be able to put into place something which would be meaningful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Astu, ma'am. Astu. I request Arya, please.
No, yeah, I think we will take one question, Piyush. Yes, Dr.
Ma'am,
Mary. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You have mentioned your slide the oral traditional knowledge among us. So how can we expand this part among our regional people or the state level people? Because our grandfather, grandmother have something knowledge regarding traditional medicine, traditional things. So is there any organization who will expand this work, or is there any protection work regarding this point, ma'am? And how
Right
can
now,
we
there is
expand
no
this?
protection of a legal system yet in place. As I had mentioned, the National Biodiversity Authority under the People's Biodiversity Register is recording such information. The Ministry of Ayush has councils under it. So the councils are also recording local health practices, health traditions. You have universities like the Transdisciplinary University in Bangalore who is recording this information. Ministry of Tribal Affairs is also recording such, documenting such information depending on the proposals that they have received. So you will have to look up people who are in your neighborhood and see, perhaps even your
Yes, ma'am.
BMCs would be able to, document such information.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, I think we'll stop here. Piyush, I will.
Pranam Arye, कृपया समापनं करोतु. कृपया समापनं करोतु. शान्ति मन्त्रेण करोतु कृपया. न श्रूयते आर्ये, कृपया उद्घाटयतु.
Yes, namaste. Sorry, I would just like to start by thanking Viswajanani ji very much for this very insightful and important session. And just I wanted to also add, because I was in the Northeast for the teacher training programs recently, and one realizes how much of knowledge there is. So Dr. Mary was asking, there's so much of knowledge there. I think the biggest lacunae that we have is the documentation of it, which is also the next step after which TKDL and all can maybe step in and assist. So I think if, like ma'am seems to be the head of the department of that university, if they can collect, if for the for the IKS, first if they can do a collection of all of this and before publishing it, because once they publish all this material in this international journals, it's gone out of our hand. So how do we publish it and all? You have to be very careful about how you are disseminating the information, valuable information that you're getting. So I think, please, all of you, while you do this, please remember that the more you protect this knowledge within our own country, the richer that your own populations will get. If you're publishing this data too early and only part of it, then you have a lot of international sources that are looking for such information, and then they will patent it and they will do all those things. So be extremely conscious about the value of what you are investigating and documenting and how you are then putting it into public domain. That would be
Yes,
really,
ma'am.
really important to keep in mind. And Dr.
Sure,
Mary,
sure, ma'am.
please, since you're the head, you must encourage your faculty members to
Yes,
take
ma'am.
up projects. The IKS division, we launched several projects and we don't get enough applications from the Northeast. So if you can
Okay, ma'am.
please encourage people to, apply, Northeast and
Yes,
many
ma'am.
other places also, please apply for projects and apply for them using the particular steps that the IKS division recommends. All right. So I think with these
Okay,
words,
ma'am. Okay.
Piyush, yes, please. So I'll end here with the Shanti mantra.
Yes. Astu Arye.
All right.
Tadeva.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Thank you all for your time and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thank you very much, Pa.
Yes.
Thank you.
See you
Namaste,
tomorrow at the
namaste
same
to all.
time.
Yes, bye.
स्वः पुनर्मिलामः महोदय महोदय
पुनर्मिलामः श्वः
नमो नमः
सार्धत्रिवादने
Thank
मिलामः
you, ma'am.
अस्तु see you tomorrow, please join.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good session.
Hello.